Hello and welcome to another episode of UpGrade with Maria Kay, the podcast where your success, freedom and happiness get a weekly boost. And my sisters in the air, I am saying an amazing well done to you for showing up again to take 30 or so minutes to tend to the really important side of things, your life upgrade. I know it takes organisation and courage and focus and dedication to keep chipping away at whatever it is you're creating, expanding, attracting, or working towards. So a huge well done to you. Congratulations, you made it once again. My name's Maria Kay, and I help people all over the world create success, freedom and happiness for themselves, but also convert their dreams into reality. Because a dream is simply a good idea until we're actually living it. Today I'm so excited because we have a special guest. Jonathan Ratcliffe is here to tell us how to turn your passion into profit. Now, Jonathan is a marketing and sales expert. Since leaving Carlsberg over 11 years ago, he set up his own company, JMR Sales and Consultancy Ltd, and he helps a variety of companies all over the world with short and mid-term contracts. He helps to solve a wide range of their business challenges. Now, seeing as many of you are on the cusp or maybe already are converting your passion, converting your innate and natural abilities and tendencies into that paycheck every single month, we are in for a treat today to hear all about what Jonathan is going to suggest and advise us and hopefully shed some really powerful light on where we can take our passions into moving them forward to upgrade our life. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Maria.
So let's just kick straight off. I've already given a bit of a background about you to our audience. Could you extend that a little bit and tell us a bit about perhaps what you do now and what you love about it?
Yes, I'd be delighted to. My background for the last 25, I suppose I must be getting on for 30 years now, is I've been working in sales all of my career. And the thing is that I can sense people thinking, oh, wow, sales, it's not really an area that I enjoy or relish. And I can understand why. But one of the key reasons that most people dislike sales is that it doesn't come naturally to them because it doesn't focus on the people that you're trying to attract. And what I have learned is that the best way to be successful in sales is to capitalize on the human side, on understanding who we are as individuals and who we already know, rather than trying to attract new customers, new clients to us who don't know a thing about us, don't like our service, and certainly therefore don't trust us. And so I've devised a way of helping people to think about sales that is much more personal, approachable, and comfortable, frankly. So that's what I do to help people to overcome some of those mental blocks.
Wonderful. So a person-centered approach to converting our passion into profit, right?
Yeah, definitely. And this also helps those people who are taking the first steps of moving away from perhaps one life, one business, even in some cases in relationships. But if we focus on business for a moment, then it can really help people to make that step into a new world, a new life, a new passion for a new business which will generate their profits.
Wonderful. So let's start at the beginning, shall we?
Yeah, fire away.
Yeah, well, what I was going to ask you, as you said, our audience are passion-based people. We know that, you guys, if you're tuning in today, that you are ready for more in your life. And whether you're in business for yourself or not, because I believe it's applicable to whatever line of work you're in, what would you say to somebody who, first and foremost, has no idea how to explain to somebody what they do or what they're good at? And you know, we kind of, I mean, this used to be me as well. I used to really struggle to kind of big myself up because I was told growing up, it's not, you know, it's not cool, it's not modest. You know, you shouldn't sort of shine the light on yourself. Yet, whether you're in business for yourself or not, or whether you're simply, you know, working towards creating a better life for yourself, as I call it, you know, upgrading, there is the need to be able to really understand, you know, your value as a human being and what you can actually offer to other human beings, because we're all here to help each other, right? What would you be able to speak on or share around that topic, Jonathan?
I think what I can share is that if we judge ourselves by what other people say about us, then it can quite often be a disappointing life, especially if we believe what the media say about us, whether or not, you know, we're too fat, too thin, too old, too poor, too lazy, you know, there are all these negative messages around. And yet, if you think about it, there are those people who can help us with positive messages, and they tend to be our friends and our family. The people that love us are the ones who very often know us best and accept us for who we are and know our strengths, but also know our weaknesses. Now, what I try and do is to encourage people to focus on those people who really know us well and what strengths they feel that we have, because quite often these are areas that we don't even appreciate that we've got ourselves. But my first point, I guess, really is to not focus too much on those messages of negativity that very often come from those people that don't know us particularly well, because they will reinforce negative values and bring us down. And so this works very well for my clients who want to develop their sales. They have to start by developing and understanding and appreciating their own personality and what those strengths are. So with me, for instance, it was somebody telling me that I was a good communicator, that I presented myself well, and that I could communicate ideas to other people. And I built on that, and that helped me to get into a career in sales. But it then also helped me to teach other people how they could build on their natural attributes in a business environment. And I offer coaching to people so that I can nurture some of those growing areas, or perhaps uncover some of those skills that they aren't aware of that they've got. So I suppose what I'd suggest to the people that are listening to this podcast is listen to those people that know us well, that love us, that trust us, and ask them what they think that we are good at. You may very well be surprised at some of the responses you get. And what I've also found is that if you ask people for help, it is completely human nature for other people to help you, even without any sort of payment whatsoever. If you ask for help, you will receive it. So take that first step would be my first piece of advice. Then think about how that can help you in a business environment. So, for instance, you may be thinking about changing from working for the man in an organization or corporation. You may be unhappy there because of bureaucracy or politics, or just it's not the right fit for you anymore. The people that you know and who know, like, and trust you can help you to make that jump to a new environment, to a new and upgraded you. That's your word, Maria, but I think it's a really good one. And this upgrading process takes the best parts of what we are as individual humans and then builds on that. So that's a really positive first step, to know yourself and then take those steps, but get reassurance from other people who love you and who know you first, not complete strangers.
Oh, I love that, Jonathan. And this ties in really well with one of my continuous messages. And you guys, if you've been tuning in from day one to these podcasts, you would have heard me repeat this a lot, but I'm not going to apologize for it. And that is self-awareness. So, Jonathan, you just packaged it in a different way. Know thyself, you know. So find a way to, as you say, you know, hang out with people who really have your best interests at heart. And I'll just slot in there as an addition, if that's all right, Jonathan. Yeah. Sometimes we actually have to maybe take some extreme kind of measures in order to surround ourselves with people who do have our best interests at heart and really are, you know, a lot on the same page as us, let's say, and have the ability to line up with our vision as well. So, you know, surround yourself with like-minded people. Absolutely love that. Okay, so we've got, for example, somebody who is, as you say, ready to take the next step, leave perhaps quite a secure job. Perhaps they've been there a while, maybe even in a big corporation, and they start to feel the urge, the pull that there's something more, or they begin to receive that sort of divine message that an ability or an interest or a passion of theirs is really kind of coming to the forefront of what they need to be doing and sharing with the world. Yet they have this, and I think you touched on it quite early on in our conversation, they know that if they do that, they're going to have to start in some way, shape or form to sell themselves, right? Yeah. Start to talk about the kind of that big, the S word, as it were. Now, I still, to this day, and I've been doing this for many, many years, have to check myself when I hear or speak or feel the word sales. Yeah. And I'm sure you guys listening, you've got your own buzzwords that are coming up, right? As we just repeat that word sales, you know, the word pushy, the word icky. You know, I've done a lot of work with my clients as well around this. And a lot of the words that come up are, you know, sort of pushy and icky and really just in your face and lies. Lots of different words. I'm sure you've heard your own along the years, Jonathan. What would you be able to share in terms of based on your experience, because you've already kind of shed a little bit of light and kind of blown, you know, our misperceptions perhaps out of the water. Could you kind of continue with that conversation for us? Yeah. So we can really enable somebody who's listening today to make that switch sooner rather than later. Sure.
I think I feel very passionately about this because in many respects, the people that are harming my profession are the people who are going about sales incorrectly. And I talk about this because I try and help people to understand that there is a better way of selling. And it's, as I said earlier, it's through understanding personalities, not only our own, but more importantly, the people that we're going to talk about. And forgive me here if I talk a little bit about the theory of sales, but I think it's important, as in so many other areas, if we understand the theory, then we can apply those elements of what is correct and comfortable for us in practice once we understand the theory. Here's the theory behind sales. In any sales transaction, you need to know, like, and trust what it is that you are buying. Just think about that for a second. If you're buying anything from a house or a car or even a packet of crisps, or let's say hopefully something more healthy, then you have to know not only that product exists, but you'll make choices about where you buy it from. So it may be an organic grocery that you buy it from, or you could buy it from Tesco, or you could buy it from a shop that's got a poor reputation. You'll make decisions based on what you know about that product. You have to also like the product you're going to be buying. Again, whatever you last bought, think about, you knew that it exists, you liked it, it meant something to you, it was going to it's going to be relevant to you, and you trusted it. This key element of trust is the most important of all those three elements of know, like, and trust, because we only actually get our hand in our pockets and buy things that we do trust. I'll give you an example. In the last 48 hours, Volkswagen, as a very trusted brand, or at least they were, have been revealed as, well, not telling the truth to millions of people, their own customers. And as a consequence, their reputation, their share price has plummeted. The worst salespeople lie about what they sell, and they get found out and they don't make a sale again. In our own personal lives, we have to be trusted and be consistent in what we do, even if that means saying, I can't do something. That's fine. But we, as whatever we are offering, even if it's ourselves in employment, or if we are buying something, we have to know, like, and trust it. What a lot of salespeople do is they try and develop relationships with people very quickly where there is no knowledge, no liking, no trusting. Think about those people that phone us up, as I get pestered here at home, by people trying to sell me double glazing or loft insulation or, a new telephone line. I don't know them. I certainly don't like them, and I don't trust them. So it's a very short conversation. Now, what relevance does this have to those of you who are listening who want to make the transition from one world, one life, one job into another one? The answer is that if we use people to leverage the great reputation that we've got, and I'm talking here about advocates, and I'll explain this a little bit more detail in a second, but if we use those advocates rather than complete strangers, we are more likely to be successful. I'll give you an example. This morning I was talking to somebody who has recently been made redundant, and she was doing what many people do when they're looking for a job, which is to develop her CV and send it out to employment agencies. And she was applying for job after job after job, and she was starting to get despondent. And I said to her, let's try a different approach. Instead of talking to people who you don't know and who don't know or like or trust you, let's go to those people that you do know. And this is where the concept of advocates became relevant to her. In our lives, we've worked with people that we've impressed, who have liked what we have done, who have trusted us and have seen us deliver for them and maybe for their business or for the businesses that we've worked in. They've seen us perform when the chips were down, when things were hard, and as a consequence, we've grown together. Those people that we've worked with, I call advocates, and I simply call this the ABC of sales. A's are advocates, and there's a few people that we know who are those advocates. The B's are those people who know us, but maybe not as well as the advocates. They've maybe worked with us, but not in such extreme circumstances. And the C's are everybody else. There's lots of other people out there who don't know us. So to come back to the advocates, those people who have worked with us and have trusted us and we have grown together with, those people can help us to make that leap to a new life. And this, you can call it networking if you want, but it's high-level networking with people who will help us if we ask them, because we have helped them and maybe enhanced their careers in the past. So my advice to the people listening to this is focus on those people that we know to start with. Talk to them about the transition that you're trying to make in your life, whether or not that's a business career or a relationship career, and ask them for help and advice. Don't go to complete strangers. They know us better, perhaps in some cases and in some aspects of our lives, they know us better than we know ourselves. So use them and their advice to help to get to the point that we want to be at. But, and this is the key point, you cannot help somebody who doesn't know where they're trying to get to. If you know what you want, and it could be an introduction to a specific person in a specific company, then if they know who it is that you want to meet, then they might be able to help you. But if you don't know what you want, how can they possibly help you? So be very clear before you have those conversations, before you have those meetings, what is it that you want from your advocates? What general direction? Research research your advocates. Look on things like LinkedIn and other social media to remind yourself about who they know and how they might be able to help you. And then ask them for those specific areas of help and that guidance that they can give you. So that might help you in that transition, and hopefully it will help you to sell yourself, because you're not talking to strangers, you're talking to friends, and these advocates can be enormously powerful because of the network that they can bring to our network and to our relationships. And I hope that's helpful, Maria.
Wonderful. I love that you touched on clarity there, Jonathan, because that's, again, something that I teach my students and work definitely very, very deeply on with my clients. As you say, if you don't know where you're going, then you can't possibly begin the journey. I love that you touched on the ABC, because that was actually one of my questions for you. Could you maybe elaborate on that a little bit? Because I know there's a lot more to it than sort of you sort of touched on the surface there. Obviously, A being advocates. Would you be able to speak a little bit more on the ABC of sales and sort of leveraging your brand and so on?
Yeah, so if you imagine a triangle, and I use a triangle to describe this concept because for me it's helpful. I'm quite a visual person. Maybe some of the other listeners are visual as well. But if you draw a simple triangle, and then the very top, perhaps 10% of that triangle, you draw a line underneath that section, and then another 10% down, you draw another line, and those are your B's. You'll end up with what in effect looks like a great big iceberg, with the C's at the bottom, the B's in the middle top section, and the A's right at the top. The reason that the spacing of those lines is important is that in my model of the ABC of sales, we only know a relatively small number of people, and the advocates, we only know a very small number of people who know us extremely well. And this is why a lot of salespeople get tempted by the iceberg below the water. They think there are all these people that they would love to meet, to know, to sell to tell them about. They've got all these jobs. But as I have found out, in sales, if you try and approach people who don't know, like, and trust you, your chances of success of even getting to talk to them in any detail are 100 to 1. And I know these figures because I used to work in an organization that had to organize cold calling and telesales, and I hated it. But the numbers were essentially 100 calls to get one decent conversation. Now, after those decent conversations, you then had 10 face-to-face meetings before you converted them. So that's 1,000 people to talk to before you get one sale. However, if you come to the other end of the extreme, the advocates, these people that already know, like, and trust us, then the numbers are flipped completely on their head. What you're doing is they already love you. They love what you've done. They admire what you've done, and they trust you implicitly. That's the nature of advocacy. And if you ask them for help and in a clear direction, they will give it to you. But what I do when I'm looking for referrals for my business, I go to my delighted customers and I say to them at the end of the project, right, okay, we've achieved these objectives. Now, do you know anybody else that might need to use my skills that you would be prepared to refer me to? And in all cases, because I have delivered excellence to them, they are happy to refer business to me. And this is a point that many people forget, that actually asking for a referral makes the referrer look good. It doesn't necessarily just make us look good. It makes them look good. Because if we have delivered excellence, then it's like the person who asks you advice for, oh, where did you get that from? Where did you buy that? Or, doesn't your hair look lovely? Where did you get it done? All these things. We love to recommend it because we've bought well. That is what our referrers or our advocates are doing when they refer us to other businesses. So I ask my advocates for 3 people to refer me to, and they are normally happy to give me 3 names, telephone numbers, email addresses, even mobile telephone numbers, and they refer me to them. And so I'm getting 3 very warm leads, and I can normally convert at least one of those. So my strike rate with referred business is 1 to 1. And if I were cold calling, it would be 1,000 to 1. The only area that I've missed out is the Bs, okay? The Bs are those people in the middle that know us to a degree, but don't yet know us, like us, or trust us enough to perhaps refer all that business. So our objective with them is to get to know them a bit better so that they can, in time, become advocates. And I know we're running short on time, so I'll probably leave that there, but I hope that helps to focus the efforts of the people who are listening to this on the people that are going to be of most value and who are going to help us with love in their hearts rather than with a cold heart and cold calling.
I think that's absolutely hitting the exact spot that will be able to help our audience, move forward. And if you're listening and you've got questions, please do go over to the Facebook group, UpGrade with Maria Kay. Join the group if you're not already part of the group, and post your questions, post perhaps what you found useful about today's podcast. Perhaps you've got anything specific you'd like to ask Jonathan, or perhaps you'd even like to think about having, I know that, Jonathan, you offer complimentary conversation for people. So, perhaps if that's something you'd like to grab hold of, then go over to the Facebook group, join in, UpGrade with Maria Kay, and let us know what you need regarding this. I feel like there's a whole other podcast full of topic that we can continue on, Jonathan. Just to wrap up, though, I'd like to, I love the whole ABC model. Makes perfect sense, especially when we're coming from where we're coming from today, which I think, what I've noticed and experienced evolving as a businesswoman, as well as a coach and a speaker, as a motivational uplifter, is that the way we do business is really evolving. The paradigms are completely shifting. And this model, Jonathan, really aligns with where I believe we're evolving to, which is, as you say, person-centered business, making those really deep, honest connections. And it's more of a culture of how can I help you, how can I give to you, rather than how can I take from you, not only in business, but also, with our counterparts as well. So I think this is really spot on. And it's what I would call sacred sales, which is speaking from one heart to another.
Well, I'm glad you found it useful. Obviously, if people want to find out more details, then they can go to your Facebook page, or they can contact me through my website, which is jmrsales.co.uk. And as you say, I'll be delighted to help anybody who feels that they could use some of the skills that we've talked about today.
I highly recommend that you have a conversation with Jonathan if you are feeling as though this is, if this is speaking to you and you're kind of poised, set to take those steps, or perhaps you already have and you'd like some assistance. Jonathan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Could you share with our audience one final nugget of wisdom before we wrap up? Something that you know to be true off the top of your head, or
blimey. I think it's one of the key things I would say is, if you find that you're in a flat spot and perhaps you've not had a great week or not had a great day, if you give to other people something that they're not expecting, you'll be amazed at what comes back. So one of the things that I do is I say, if I've not received a testimonial or a referral from somebody, then I'm going to give 2 or 3 to other people, people that I've been thinking about, people that I've worked with, people that I've admired. I give it to them, and in time, that goodness will come back. So, and it's great to give, It's very often more fun to give than to receive anyway. So that's what I do, and maybe that's a tip that might help other people as well.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Absolutely. Jonathan, thank you very much. from my heart, I want to say, a huge, big appreciation for your time today. And guys, if you're listening, and as Jonathan says, perhaps you've had a flat day or not a very good week, and you do feel like giving up. Very often we do. We feel like it's not meant to be. I haven't had the sales, or I can't crack it, or I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. All of those inner voices that very often accompany us as we move forwards and upwards. I would like to remind you that you are where you are because you're supposed to be where you are. You, your passions, your interests, the messages, the nudges, the people in your life that are contacting you, showing up for you, that you're kind of, a little bit interested in what they've got to say. Perhaps you've bumped into the same person a few times in the same week. Pay attention to those things because they are all there to help you. Life happens for us, right? Not to us. So take a few seconds, take some deep breaths, reconnect with this moment, and either go and do something awesome for somebody else or do something awesome for yourself. Keep moving forward. Make that phone call. Follow through on that connection that you made perhaps last week at a networking meeting or some introduction that you've been offered. Keep going. It's very easy to give up and say it's not meant to be. But what if it is meant to be? What if it really is? Until next time, I'm leaving you with as much courage and love